Hello and welcome to the Divinely Sovereign podcast. I'm your host, Senna Scott. I'm a sovereignty empowerment coach and an intuitive artist. The Divinely Sovereign podcast is a spiritual growth podcast and sanctuary for women becoming their most creative, expressive, and sovereign self. This is for the woman who is done pushing, proving, performing, and ready to live from self-trust, embodiment, inner authority, and divine alignment. If you are in a season of becoming, this space is for you. So today's conversation is an invitation back to the body, back into feeling, and into the parts of us that were never meant to be performed, optimized, or controlled. We explore why so many women are outwardly holding life together while privately feeling disconnected from their own aliveness, and what it means to reconnect with the erotic life force within. Joined by Shakti, we dive into tantra, eros, embodiment, conscious relationship, and human design as pathways back to self-trust. This is a conversation about remembering who you are beneath survival and returning home to yourself. A little bit about Shakti. She is an embodiment guide and facilitator of conscious transformation, supporting both men and women in returning to presence, truth, and their life force energy. Her work weaves together eros, somatic embodiment, conscious relationship healing, hypnosis, and human design to move beyond conditioning and self-abandonment into deeper self-trust, emotional clarity, and authentic expression. At the heart of her work is the reclamation of embodied aliveness, reconnecting to the body as a source of wisdom, desire, and sovereignty. So relationships, identity, and life itself can be lived with greater depth, intimacy, and truth. It is with my greatest pleasure to welcome Shakti. Welcome, Shakti.
Hi, Senna. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your podcast today. I'm so excited to dive deep and take women and men on a journey.
Oh, it is so juicy to have you here. I'm so grateful for this conversation we're going to have today. And before we dive in, I just want to name. So I found you through a mutual collaborator. We both have worked with Ian Wood on a workshop and some beautiful, potent work. And I when I came across your Instagram, you guys were doing a live together. I I just kind of fell into a whole portal on your Instagram. I was just like, who is this woman? Oh my God. I got so hot and bothered. Like, I felt the ripples of just this power, and I just like fell in love with your content. I was like, how is this queen have 500 followers? Like, you're holding the quantum of thousands of just like, I just want to name that. First of all, I see that vision for you. Your work is so powerful, and the frequency that you're emitting, whoo, let me just tell you, I had to go be with myself after seeing your Instagram. Yeah.
Mm. Oh, thanks
Mhm.
for sharing that. That's quite a huge compliment. That's what I want. That's my aim. Either to
Mhm.
provoke you to ask some questions or that to be the outcome. That is beautiful. Oh
Mhm.
wow. What an
Yep.
introduction. Okay, so
Yeah.
hop over to my Instagram and be inspired.
Yes.
Maybe we can make it happen that I get 1,000 followers or more so I can do some Instagram lives over there being
Yep.
so limited with what you can do. Oh, yes. I'm all about the
Yep.
provocation. That's really something that turns me on. Like when I'm provoked, when I'm like, ooh, I never thought about it before like this. Or
Uh-huh.
if I'm triggered and there's something stirring inside, which makes me feel alive. Oh, that just makes me so curious. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and I loved some of your questions too, of just like there's some posts where just like you're in your full essence, and you ask a question of like, how does this make you feel? What is the stir within you? I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit, but
Yeah.
just I love those deep reflections of just like, it's okay that you're being provoked. I know what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
also like, go within. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. So I'd love to start with your story. What led you into this beautiful work?
Mm.
And what was your turning point in relationship and embodiment?
Oh, yeah. Oh, grab a drink, guys. It's gonna be a ride. Yeah. So for everyone who doesn't know me, I'm from Austria. I was born and raised in the capital of Austria in Vienna, which is quite a small country to be in. So it is more of the conservative kind, being structured, having a lot of rules. And I grew up, yeah, with two parents who wanted me, who loved me. And it all quite changed a bit when they got divorced. And all of my childhood just went by like I was not really inhabiting my body. I was just witnessing everything around me because yeah, it got so intense, like noticing the divorce, the fighting, and even though I'm so grateful that they divorced because they're just so different people, and not meant to be together, how it unfolded wasn't the best, for a child to hold all this, on her shoulders like I did. And it led me to noticing like the behavior, the needs, the emotions of everyone around me so intensely. So I felt safe in a way, or that is how I kept myself safe in these environments that felt very heavy. And I always felt very different, very intense, um, very head through the roof, very sensitive, very intuitive. And my parents are like the opposite of that. They're more like cold and rooted and neutral, and they can live out emotions, of course, but that depth that I brought, quite frankly, shocked them or overwhelmed them to extent where, yeah, just out of them being overwhelmed, they said, "Don't be too much. You could cry too much," and so on and so forth. And that really brought me to dimming my light, people pleasing, being the one everyone liked in school, not really having a best friend because I never really connected that deeply. Even though I wanted to, it all felt so shallow, just the conversations I had, the people around me. And when my mother found a new partner, she also brought a new grandma into my life, which was like the sweetest angel. And she really truly loved me for who I am. And for the first time, it was like, wow, someone is listening to me. Someone sees me. Someone doesn't want to change me or tame me in any way. And it's like the opposite. She just wanted to do everything because she saw how happy it made me. And for me, I didn't want to do everything because I didn't like want to spend money or anything. I just wanted to be with her. And that was the first time I felt this unconditional love and this purity and this innocence. And I felt so held and so loved. And life moved on. I was 19 and she was diagnosed with cancer. And that was like the biggest shock of my life until then. I was so scared of losing her, like all these patterns of my father leaving the family, this loss, this fear of that happening again were quite intense in my life. And I moved through it, but mostly on my own. And when she died, like my dad said something to me that is still in my mind. It's like, yeah, but everyone dies. And for me, like, yeah, but this is my world. This is my love. And I felt like this deep, deep, empty void inside. And I just broke off my first relationship with my boyfriend. We were together for 3 years, so quite some serious things, even though I was just 18, 19 years old. And there I was. I lost like the relationship that meant a lot to me. I lost the human I loved most in my life. And yeah, was searching deeply searching to fill this emptiness, to feel something, because I was so lost. And then I went out to party. I wanted to chase adventure, have new experiences, go on a date, have sex, just feel alive. And I was really chasing that feeling. And it came to the point where even my second relationship, I kind of talked him into having this relationship with me because I just couldn't bear being alone for any longer. And yeah, it was quite a big milestone to move out of my parents' house and to be really standing on my own feet. And he helped me achieve that in that moment. And even though we weren't together for a long time, I'm really deeply grateful for also this path. And the second relationship just felt so empty. There wasn't this passion. There was no desire. It was just like being friends, just so that you're not alone. Yeah, it was easy. And I just realized that's not it. That can't be it. I was so scared of that being it. And so I scrambled together all my courage and moved out into my first apartment alone in the city, which was quite exciting. I finished my apprenticeship to become a florist, so I was always really creative. And working with flowers, I love the scents, I love to arrange them, I love the weddings and the events, and just it was so alive in that moment. And there I was, single again. This time I wanted to do something different, and I attracted someone where I thought, oh yeah, that feels exciting. Finally, someone where we can talk and do everything. And actually, I just got my heart broken even deeper and more intense. And that that's just really terrible. I think no matter if you're a woman or a man, if you lead the other on and you picture the situation different than it actually is, because you're actually not honest to yourself. And that was what happened in that moment. And I can't be angry at him or angry at myself for not noticing, for projecting many things onto him. But being like heartbroken again, it was just this pile up of every pain, of every struggle, of this deep emptiness inside that just was this accumulation, which, yeah, hit its maximum. And then I hit rock bottom. And it was really like my dark night of the soul, where everything that I wasn't feeling and suppressing just came online and flushed my whole system. It was so intense. I was crying. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't think. I was really asking myself why I was even going to work, because I was just feeling like a shell, not even myself anymore. I was, what is this thing of life? Like, what is the sense of it all? I just couldn't grasp it. And I was in luck because a friend of mine recommended a therapist, where I could get some support, because I didn't have much money to even afford something like this. So I was driving 2 hours in total to even go to therapy after work, after working 9 hours, 10 hours a day. I was going to therapy like outside of the city, so I could afford it, so I could get better. So I was really devoted to myself, devoted to changing something, devoted that this is where it ends, this is where it changes. And I'm so thankful I did it, because she really opened a new world of acceptance, allowing yourself to feel sad and not saying, oh, I'm so done with it. Tomorrow is going to be better. Tomorrow is going to be like the perfect thing. And setting yourself up for this kind of frustration again and this setback. And when I accepted it to be sad, I said, okay, that's the way it is. And I really have to be really conscious of how I handle my energy, because I was running on the bare minimum, and going to work, earning my money just took a lot of energy, of course. putting up a mask because that's personal. You don't share that at work if you're feeling down. And my family didn't understand. They were very confused, like, why are you behaving this way? What are you doing? And I was still very shy. Even if I thought I was confident back then, I was still wanting them to like me, wanting them to be in my life in a certain way. And still I couldn't. And so I cut off the contact at a certain point because, when you get the same question over and over again, why are you this way? Why are you not that way? What is that way? Is that way the way that makes you feel good? Or what is that way exactly?
Or the way that you were conditioned to be through their eyes, and you're no
Yeah,
longer doing that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Or the way they remember me from how I was as a child, which is so far from who I was as an adult. And here is one key lesson I learned. Like, you don't know your parents. You don't know your family. If you move out from this situation and you do not really experience certain daily situations where you see their behavior, their embodiment, their true morals, and whatever it is that contains their embodiment. And if you don't see that, if you only hear them talking on the phone about their stories, you don't know the other person and they don't know you. And that was a very, very important lesson that I had to learn. Yeah. And
That's
so there
powerful.
I was, healing from this dark night of the soul, getting better day by day, doing my inner work, and still just scratching the surface. And I opened up my heart again. I said, okay, this time I'm going to do it even more different. Who is this person that matches me? How should he be? What are his physical features that make me lose my mind? Like, what are those things? And really searching for that. And I attracted like exactly what I was looking for. This handsome guy with a beard, with nice hair, full hair, much tattoos on his body, looking so insanely hot that I couldn't just fathom what was happening on our first date. He was just so different. And I knew it at the first date that this is going to be something special. And he texted me after our first date, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes after. I had a nice time. I really enjoyed it. I want to see you again. Like, there wasn't this questioning, this judgment, or this doubting of myself or how it was. It was just honest, direct. No extreme or the other extreme, which felt just really nurturing. And we took it slow. We took it real slow. We were friends for a few weeks, even though it was romantic, but it wasn't physical. And we really built a stable foundation for quite some months. And we were intimate, of course, but it was different. It wasn't about physical only. It was about so much more. It was about really seeing each other where we were at that moment in time and accepting each other for where we were on our path and supporting each other through it all, through this pain. So both weren't healed or anything, but we were devoted to our own healing and to become better for each other also. And it changed that I got this sensual, this embodied, this alive when I met him. So that was really my initiation, I would say, into everything that goes deeper. He is just so smart. And he's 9 years older than me, so he has quite a lot of experience. And I always loved that about him, that he didn't brag or make me feel small or like I am a child or like I don't know anything. he always said, like, I have the knowledge, I have the experience, but what you bring, I don't have. And that is the emotion. That is the feeling. That's what I want more of. That's why I love you. Yeah. And he truly is my twin flame. Like, we had so many of the same patterns in our story. Like, it is like our soul chose the same kind of lessons to incarnate on this plane, to find each other, to heal it, to transform it and transcend it together. And that just is so inspiring, to have a love so unconditional, where you feel so safe to express yourself. And I was always ashamed of my body, of my big boobs, of being too much. And he loved all of that about me. It was, wow, what is happening? Finally, someone loves my boldness, my extremeness, my body. He loves it when I wear sexy outfits. He loves it when I dress up. He loves it when I'm on the sofa with messy hair. He loves me equally. And that just build and build and build this confidence, this safety. And one day we were like, let's make some sensual pictures at home. What do you say? Are you in the mood to do like a little photo shoot and dress up with nice outfits and some lingerie? And we even got like a nice lighting and everything. And we did these photos and I was like, wow, that's me? Who is that girl? She's really smoking hot. And that was the first time I realized how sexy I feel, or how sexy I am actually. And I was having more weight than I do now. I was a little bit more curvy and I found myself so beautiful. There was not one thing I didn't like about these photos. Of course, the best ones. The other ones are still valid. Maybe I will share them in some shape or form, because it's so important that it is the angle, it is the lighting, it is so many things. But most importantly, what is the essence of it all is our energy, our embodiment, how confident we feel in our skin. And in the next step of this photo shoot, this can help you so much with your posture, with your confidence, with how you actually look when you move through the world. And ladies, I can tell you it's worth it. Even if you put on just a timer, self-timer on your phone and make some photos of yourself, just for fun, just for the sake of creating it. Like, put on a nice outfit, do the thing, do your hair or do it messy. You don't even have to wear any makeup. It's not necessary. Just as much as you feel sexy, and then take some photos. 10 out of 10 recommended.
And you don't have to post them. It could be just for
No,
you too.
no,
Yeah.
just for you.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course. Of
For
course.
sure. Oh my God. Photo shoots. I did my first like boudoir like photo shoot in my 20s, and I was just like, oh my God. What? What? Like,
Yeah.
that's me. That's me. I'm not a sexy girl. What? Yeah. Yeah. There's a
Yeah.
beautiful embodiment that happens with photo shoots. And if you ever do have like another person, really being able to feel safe and maybe even set intentions before the photo shoot, is a really beautiful, beautiful practice, so that like that can come alive. And someone maybe that is experienced as well, and if like you're really camera shy, I'm a Leo, so I'm not camera shy. I have a sixth sense. I know where there's a camera and I'll smile. um but it's really helpful to have somebody that's like able to kind of help pull that out, and give you some guidance of like postures that you may feel and look really like pleasing and beautiful, so that you can see yourself in that light.
Hmm.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I just want to take like wow, thank you so much for sharing your story, a huge part of like the childhood and your adolescence and meeting now your husband and just yeah, getting to really, really I felt just transported in that experience and also very resonant with many chapters in your life. So you speak to women who feel alive on the outside, but disconnected inside. What do you think is actually happening at the root of that experience?
Mm, I think it's like I talk about a little bit in my story just now, this being scared of being present. That's what
Mm.
brings the numbness when either we overgive, we overextend ourselves to a certain limit when just our cup is just so empty that everything feels like this big, big task. Like there isn't energy for anything at all. And I think the root cause of this is saying yes to things that should be a no. Like that is such
Mm.
a big thing to allow yourself to say no. And if you said yes, to change your mind and say no if you feel like it. Or if you said no and it's actually yes, you can also change your mind in most ways or in most instances. And for me, it was really like this checking out of my body not being online, sort of say. And that is so scary when our body just shuts down. And equally scary is when just our mental plane just goes on and on and on in this rabbit hole and this loops of programming, of conditioning of the things our brain has absorbed over the years, over the decades we have been living. And it has become so normal to just do it, like the slogan says, to just
Mhm.
push through it, to Mm, push down your actual needs and disconnect from your body awareness and from your inner authority. And I think that is where so many women just are in this feeling of numbness versus the aliveness that they're so deeply craving.
Yes. Oh, I so resonate with that. I also deeply believe too that a lot of our ability to speak our truth, yeah, really does come from like being able to tune in to ourselves and like feel like when you say that no, or when you say that yes and you didn't mean it, or you didn't like how that makes you feel in that moment. Are you contracting? Are you constricting? What's happening in your body? How does your womb in particularly feel? Like touching base with your belly and your abdomen, your heart space, like and what's your body language happening in that moment? Like are you shrinking? Are you constricting? Are you feeling tight? Are you feeling like you can't breathe? Do you feel like your throat's closed? And something I want to say here is that so often actually, this is kind of a fun, cool little fact. Like the anatomy of like a woman in her womb with the follicular tubes and her uterus, like there is a beautiful connection with what it looks like in our throat. If you were to like take a profile of like the front area of the throat, it's very similar looking anatomy wise and it's because it's connected. Our sacral chakra from our womb space and our throat chakra, they're connected. So when one is feeling closed, the other is often feeling depleted as well. And so I'm just pointing out this beautiful part where it's like when you feel safe to express, um, or when you don't, to yeah, like really tap into feeling your womb space, feeling your throat and your heart, and just seeing like Hmm, what's happening here? And checking in with yourself. Like what did you truly want to say? Um, yeah, thank you so much for bringing that beautiful point.
I still have one little thing about what you said, like the
Yeah.
throat and the womb space. I heard one time that this is actually the first thing to develop in our body, like the genitals and the throat, and then like they split apart. So yeah, it's really beautiful, the connection. And yeah, so connected everything, like our expression, our creative processing with our womb, with the intelligence of, yeah, like our sexual center of our sacral. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's a fun fact. I didn't
Mhm.
know that. Um, the word erotic carries so much misunderstanding and conditioning. How do you define erotic or eros in your work?
This is a juicy one because I love language. And I think, yeah, words in general just mean different things to different people. So I want to say what it means for me or how it expresses in my work. So eros can be like viewed on two sides of the spectrum. One is this desire, this passion, this sexual energy, that is more focused on like our animal being, on our human body, on this material plane. And the other spectrum is this yearning to ascend, to connect with your higher self, to the divine, to source. And these things are like two sides of the same coin. And we're in constant like movement and motion, being attracted and magnetized to different forces within our lives. And I think there is this incredible power of our sexual energy, because actually sexual energy, this desire, this eros, is or should, if we make love, if we truly make love and we die like this small death, and we bring all this sexual energy, this kundalini energy through our bodies, and we actually illuminate places and aspects within that weren't accessible to us before. So in ancient times, tantra was created, born in Egypt, actually. And it was the purpose of working with the sexual energy to connect with the higher forces. And that's the whole purpose of Tantra, to really focus on the breath, on the energy, and push it from the lowest point of your body up, 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 and even further up until you have reached your crown. And the goal isn't to orgasm. The goal is that to illuminate certain parts, to feel that connection with the divine, to feel this oneness, to feel this unconditional love. And I think that is why it is has been so taboo, so exiled, so shamed for such a long time, because it is so powerful, and it can be so potent if we allow ourselves to be curious, to investigate, to release the shame and come back to our beautiful bodies and to sensation. I think, yeah, that's the reason why we all incarnated to feel and experience life through the senses, and being able to feel emotion, to smell, to touch, to breathe, to moan, to scream, and so much more. And yeah, I think there shouldn't be so much shame around this. And that is why I show up in this way online. Even if my background is very conservative, I chose this kind of expression because I feel like there's so much healing on the other side of expressing your sexual nature. And of course, in a safe way for you and your partner. Yeah.
You explained that so beautifully. You also lightly touched on also like why it's been such a um why it feels kind of forbidden. And like let's maybe talk about that. Like where in society or why in society is this such a taboo subject?
Oh, I recently talked about this with my husband, and we were talking about conditioning in general, like how conditioned we are from our families and how that is rooted in our DNA. But if you go like all the way back of how far you can imagine to go back in human time and how women were portrayed, how women were treated, how much it was talked about being sexual, how accepted it was to live as sexually as it was. Of course, there were times and phases in certain countries and so on and so forth where it was accepted, where it was publicly lived out. But I think it all transformed so much around shaming women in general for their intuitive gifts and for them using herbalism to treat certain diseases, for supporting others with their gnosis, with their wisdom, with their feminine powers. And maybe those women who were called witches were super seductive. Maybe they were sexy. Maybe they were not at all. But there is so much shame around the women in general. Like, I think, yeah, on my last podcast episode, I had Charlotte on where she was talking about women providing like birth care for other women. And that was like really a shameful thing to do because men and pharmaceutical wanted to take over the reins of how birth should go about from then. And that is why women were pushed out of this scenario and were left out of everything. And I think this imprinting of women are bad, women are lesser than, women are, and so on and so forth. Women shouldn't make them we shouldn't be the victim of this belief, of this conditioning, but we should be aware of it, that it goes so far back and is given on to the next generation and into the next generation. And it's all like in our DNA. It's the atoms within us that are programmed a certain way because like the information lives on in our cells. And it's so fascinating to think about what it takes to break out of this conditioning, to say no more. I don't want to believe that anymore about myself, about my body, about sexuality. I want to believe something new and go for it and be shameless in it and stand in it. And that is quite a tough thing to do because you have to leave all of the opinions of others behind and say, fuck that, I'm going to do my own thing. And that takes so much courage.
Yeah. Oh, so true. I was raised Catholic, and so there was just a lot of shame and guilt. And even just being a woman, even just being alive, you're told at the start that you're just inherently sinful and not worthy, and none of that is true. I've had to deprogram and strip that away. But also like the sensuality, the like sex being like, it's a sin to not be have that without a wedlock, like was a big thing in my upbringing. And my own flavor of this too is I believe that a big part of why it's so taboo is I believe it's a hyper controlled thing in our society because, like you said, intuition, a woman's intuition, and also a man's, like, is so powerful. And this topic right now, like, this is your body, your vessel. This Kundalini energy is also your connection with God. Like, that completely flips the script of deeply indoctrinated religion, that's massively taken over, and colonialization that has taken over countries. And and I feel like that's why the porn industry is such a huge issue. Why there's a lot of um shame with sex in general. And you touched on something really beautiful too of like um talking you touched on the epigenetics of like it's like we're connected also with our ancestors over the generations of what they experienced, like in our wombs too, like in our very eggs, in our like this is our connection and portal also with our ancestors. Like there's that you're like the eggs what is it in you are holding like the next generation, the next two generations, right? Um like so like you were already within your grandmother, like your mom. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Anyway, I um mm, yeah, because like if we are connected with God and we know that this is our true power, that's not very controllable.
Mm. And even all the churches and all those buildings, they are just these huge frequency emitters. Like they're built in the structure for a reason. And when people sing in the church, it emits a certain frequency. It's all for a reason. It's all a purpose. And it's so powerful. And that's why you should pay attention to your prayer, to what you say and where you say it and with what intention you say it. Yeah.
Oh, oh my God. This is like three other episodes in one. I will continue on with the topic though.
Yeah.
So I feel like
Mm.
we left off with your husband and you and the photo shoot and kind of like your first like, oh
Mm.
wow, like that's me. I feel
Yeah.
like there's more to this story of like
Mm.
your reclamation and your embodiment and your sexual liberation. Would you like to continue sharing?
Yeah, of course. So I was there seeing these sexy photos of myself, feeling really good, feeling really confident. And it got me thinking about like so many fantasies of so many things in how I could touch myself, how I could be with myself. Because for me, it was very different to maybe other women, but my husband knew how to touch my body better than I did. So, of course, he's 9 years older. Of course, he has experience, but I never even really dared to really touch my body, to be with myself. And he had so much passion just for me, for us, for my body, for my sensations. And he was so curious about everything, like from the littlest thing to the biggest thing. He was so curious. And that made me even more curious. Like, how can we make it better? How can I be part of the growth that I want for this relationship? And that was actually when we were already married. So we have been married now for our anniversary is coming up 4 years, 5 years, 5 years. And when you've been together for over 5 years, 9 years, whatever, there has to be some kind of evolution because you are two individuals who change constantly, and we've changed and evolved into almost completely new human beings, and we meet each other every day anew. And so I got so curious and was so inspired, and I always loved writing, and I love creative writing. And so I thought, oh, why don't I write myself like a sensual meditation? Like a journey where I take myself to my wildest fantasies and the places within that I maybe don't touch in my daily life, and make it like a fun little ceremony for myself. And at that time, we already had like a YouTube channel. I had the microphone. I knew how to do it. So I just recorded it, put on, put over some music, and went into ceremony with this guided sensual meditation. And it took me to the forbidden places, the things I do not allow myself yet. And where I feel shame, where I can be more confident, where I can believe in myself. And not only touch myself to get an orgasm, to be aroused, but to touch myself, to know myself, to feel myself, to experience how it feels when I trace my lips with my fingers. Like, it's not erotic. It's not at all. It's just like really being curious about the landscape of my body and letting come up whatever is present at that moment and not having it to be a certain type of way, not having to look any way. And it felt so good and I felt so inspired. And I did it for a few fantasies and went out with my voice and shared it on my platforms. And there was this huge wall of shame that I could feel, like, even through the internet, like, what is she doing? What is this? What is happening? Not knowing what to expect. And so I created a little event called Domina, where I took the women on a journey. Domina, of course, again, very provocative, but taking Domina as an archetype. And I love to work with female archetypes to play as if you were that archetype, inhabiting those qualities, those traits that help you on your journey and help you tap into, how does that look for me? How does it look for me if I'm confident, if I'm dominant, if I'm present in the room? Dominant, just being dominant, means for me having a certain presence where others notice you, where others can't look away because they're stunned by your energy, by your embodiment. And I made this sensual meditation practice part of this experience of Domina. And the feedback was just insane, where just one woman was telling like how it opened whole new worlds for her, and her pursuing like an erotic adventure that she shared with me, that she didn't dare to try it before doing the meditation. And I saw how potent this can be as a tool. And then our mutual contact, Ian, got in my space as well and said, I have to have you on to do this for men as well. And before then, my work was mostly with women, and some men have entered my space, and I welcome them with open arms because, yeah, men also are very intuitive, very feeling, and they also deserve this attention and care. And so I did a few practices with men with some certain fantasies. The last one was with edging, which is quite exciting. And yeah, it kind of evolved into this new practice that is, I've never seen it before online, someone doing it like I'm doing it, because yeah, I write it, I personalize it. So I have this new kind of offering where people can hop with me on a call and talk about their fantasies and what they want to experience for an hour. And then I go and write a personalized meditation for them, including with all their kinks and fantasies for them to do and retake anytime. And I love to focus on confidence of building these resources within to overcome the shame, to feel liberated in that, to go out with your voice and communicate what you truly desire. Because yeah, if we don't allow ourselves to list all these things, how can we expect someone else to give them to us? And that's really like the point that I want to emphasize on, because it's so, so important that we're all so different and we're all unique, and our desires shouldn't be shameful, and there should be an open space where you can talk about these things and not be looked at weird. And of course, I am young. I haven't lived through the most extreme of fantasies, but I don't judge. Like, we're all just humans. We're all here to make new experiences, to learn things about life, to take ourselves to the edges. And what better way to do that as starting with yourself? because that's the only way you can truly have any sort of growth. You can't change anyone else. You can only start within.
That is so, so beautiful. And that offering your work, oh, is so depthful and powerful. And I'm just so, 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 so grateful that you exist and that your offering exists and that um, this is something in the world. It's so needed. Thank
Mm.
you. Yeah. Um, and what you said too is just about the touching on like wishing there was more spaces where these conversations could be had openly
Yeah.
and like without uh the crap around it.
Yeah.
um I so two things I want to name is my own personal journey. I had found a divine feminine tantra space workshop years ago, and I'm so grateful I landed in that space because it taught me this, just some of the basics of tantra, some of the basics of like yeah, like being able to intimately be with my body and listening to my womb and my yoni and just like really coming from this sense of exploration and deep listening and intimacy with myself. uh that was transformative. Also like specifically like in my own self love practice, asking myself consent, like asking my yoni, asking my pussy consent first of like may I enter. And that was transformative for me because for me growing up, like this religious background, I never had a sex talk. This wasn't conversations that were open for me. Like my history of sex was really with figuring it out whatever the boy that I was with, and usually he had watched porn and he was performing whatever the hell he saw, and like I had no relationship with my own body and with my own pleasure and with my own pussy, and leaving my pleasure to somebody else completely. you know there was some times where it was beautiful, sometimes where it was like it felt like violation, and but I didn't have that knowing yet within myself of like what was pleasurable, how to communicate what I wanted, how to even say no in some circumstances. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I see many mothers now teaching their children and having these conversations, at least in my field. I hope it's more widespread. But what I want to name is like, that was such a breath of fresh air of a space where that was able to be spoken about, where I was able to explore myself. And years later, I ended up finding a positive, sex positive community in my community, in my in my town. And I had gone to my first event. I was terrified. I almost felt like I was going to throw up. I was so scared. And it was a space where like you could learn more about different kinks, and there was demos and workshops and places as well that you could go and learn more. And I did a little one-on-one workshop. I understood about like the safety of the consent and the dialogue that we had for that specific container, and so the intention was pure. Like you didn't have to do anything you didn't want to. You could, and then that asking and your yes was powerful just as much as your no. And I ended up getting approached by this man, and he just came straight up to me and just was like, what are you here for? What are you looking for? And I was like, I don't really know. And he's like, what kind of kinks are you interested in exploring? And then he would just continue this conversation. And it was just like the freshest breath of air of being able to be like, oh my God, I could just say this and someone's asking me directly,
Mm.
and we could just have a conversation. And I ended up having this, like, I found out that he was a dom, and I was like, cool, that's nice. And then he was like, would you like to, maybe be in like a relationship where you're my sub? And then we like had this, we ended up getting coffee, and we talked through hours, like 9 hours of like, what are, like this was like almost contractual of like, I don't recommend necessarily this level, but it was so empowering for me and my sexual liberation, because I was able to learn as the sub, like, I had full control. My yes and my no was full control. And that was so empowering for me. And we came up with like a whole, like, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of like different kinks that we would get to explore together. And at any time, if I just wanted to be done, I could just send him a text and say, I'm done with our time. And so we had 3 months of that, and it was so liberating and it was so beautiful. And then I was like, I'm done. Thank you. And I just never saw him again.
You learned everything you needed to learn from that person. That's beautiful. If you can
Yeah.
both really enjoy the experience. And I think there runs so much into it, like, especially those dynamics at being a sub, being a dom, like, even imagining all these scenarios in your head so that you can talk about them, how you feel about them in advance to actually trying it. That takes so much courage. That takes so much awareness, self-reflection, and communicating skills. So yeah, that's actually a really, really powerful skill. And I wanted to touch on that, yes and no again, because Senna was introducing me with me also working with human design. And I feel like that has been the biggest game changer in my evolution. I didn't know about human design before meeting my husband, but it has transformed our relationship like 100%. Me knowing that I am a manifesting generator, that I respond best to yes and no questions, and that I'm emotional, that I need more time. Like, having these strategies and these tools to work with, to experiment with, so that my husband can ask me, like, do you want pizza? Yes or no. Do you want to go out? Yes or no. Are you in the mood to do this? Yes or no. Instead of asking, do you want pizza or you want pasta? That's not a yes or no question. And like, even with these simple techniques, you can get so, so far. And once I learned about my human design, I was really amazed in how correct everything was. Even if I didn't want to be a manifesting generator, I wanted to be a projector because I didn't feel like I have so much energy, which was actually me not living in alignment with the energy I had to offer. So that was a big, big lesson in itself. But I think for every type to understand how this inner voice communicates with you, and I feel like human design is the best tool to start experimenting with that, to get a certain set of things that's like, okay, this would be like my set of strategy. Let's experiment with it in real life. Let's see how it feels. And for generators and manifesting generators, if you are versed in human design or if you know your type, it's also so powerful. Maybe also if you're a projector, it's not only for manifesting generators and generators. I talked about this with Senna like a couple of weeks ago. If you have like a thing, a product, a food, cosmetics or anything, and you hold it in your hand towards your body and towards your heart, and you close your eyes and you let your body move. And if it goes to the front, it's a yes. It's in alignment with what your body needs. And if it goes back, it's a no. And I dare you to try it and experiment and have fun, because that's what life is about. To not always be so serious, to see it all as a beautiful experiment. You can't do anything wrong. There is no wrong decision. There's just your unique decision. And if you're aligned, if it's true with what you actually feel, not your conditioning, not what anyone else told you to decide, then it's never wrong. It's always right. It's always, always right.
Mm. Yes. Yes. I'm so glad you brought in and weaved in the human design as well. Yeah, like understanding my own authority and my own type and how I make decisions and what I need. I'm a self-projected projector, so I need to speak aloud to hear my own truth, either with somebody or a soundboard or like a voice message to myself. Yeah.
That's so
I
powerful.
yeah, I get lost when I get a lot of input from others. And I'm currently in a season right now where I'm like, oh, I'm like kind of limiting the input and so that I can really get clear and starting to create a practice of being able to like speak to myself every day. Um,
Mm.
yeah. So what does a woman look like when she's actually living in her erotic intelligence? Not performative sexuality, but embodied aliveness.
I feel that woman just really enjoys herself, just being with herself, just how she walks through the city, through the streets, how she sips on her coffee, how she is creaming her face really slowly, like everything in total bliss and pleasure. And even in the smallest moments, even if it's just for a few seconds, but being tapped into this sensuality of life, this connectedness to beauty around you, and seeing yourself as your greatest asset, and really fueling that, really honoring that, really bringing that forward, and cultivating a sense of pleasure and aliveness in your daily life.
Mm. Oh, yes, that's beautifully said. I have a friend that has posted recently on Facebook, and first of all, every single one of her posts are just so delicious. It's so juicy. It's like getting to like see into her world of just like the things and the conversations and the ahas she have and has and just like the pleasure she revels in. And so it's such a gift too to witness somebody in that. And something she had posted was like, you know, if you're like even like you're in line with the DMV or the post office or you're in traffic, like, can you cultivate a sense of pleasure in that?
Hmm.
And like, because like if you can, your capacity for when you really do receive is so much juicier, so much greater, so much like more depthful and embodied. What are some of the first steps a woman can take to begin to reconnecting with her body and truth?
Mm, yeah, there it is. So I would say no longer running away from her darkness. That's the
Mm.
first thing. And I know it can be like so, you can feel like so scared and so fearful in these moments when big emotions come up, when you're faced with a certain trigger or shadow. But not checking out, holding yourself, accepting that this is just part of what wants to be felt in that moment without it being judged, and just holding it, holding yourself, and transmuting from victimhood into this divine essence that lies on the other side. Because if we are too scared of facing the darkness, we also miss out on the brightest light because they go equally to each other. And so training yourself to be in a confrontation, to be in an uncomfortable situation of whatever sort and not checking out. And inside, maybe there is this little voice that you remember. Maybe it's mine that you're hearing in the next argument or scenario or confrontation where you think, oh, I just can't know more. Just be with it. You can do it. And this growth that lies on the other side, that's so worth it. And every one of us remembers when we've been a teenager and we've had these growing pains from our bones and joints and everything. And that's just life stretching you and making you even bigger and expanding you. And that's a good sign. It's a sign you're alive. And if you're not triggered anymore, if you are not in confrontation, if you're just living your life and don't care about anything, that's death. Because you're not growing, you're not evolving. So what is the sense behind it all? And I think, for me at least, the sense of life is to grow, to feel alive, to be in this moment, in this present moment, to soak it all in. But at the same time, I have this responsibility for myself to grow and learn and become better and be even more love and more of the embodiment of what I want to see in the world. And that is the only measurement I can take. Like, how was I yesterday? And is that better than today? And if not, that's okay too. Some days look out different than the other. That's totally okay. It's not like a direct path to anywhere. It's just a continual spiral taking us even deeper and deeper to ourselves and to source, to our connectedness with everything, if we are brave enough to face the darkness and witness the light when it's right in front of us.
Just needed to take a breath. Wow. So we talked briefly about human design and especially around yes and no's. I'm curious, with your work, how does human design support embodiment and feminine reclamation?
I am like distancing myself of using human design for anything and everything. I think it gives us a certain tool set that's fun to experiment with, but I wouldn't say, knowing your chart, knowing your design, that I know how you're actually living it.
Something that comes to light for me is one of your offerings that you had recently, and in which we connected over, was
Yeah.
understanding your design and your power of
Yes.
seduction. Like
Mhm.
you got me with that one. I wanted to learn more. I was like, yeah. Wow, I never thought that human design would help me understand
Yeah.
that about myself. And so I
Mhm.
so enjoyed that conversation with you and
Yes.
getting some like gold nuggets.
So it has been really fascinating in my own process to look back on my patterns from the past and what actually were the things that were super attractive about my husband when I met him. And I saw this pattern of my grandma being a projector. And she had these qualities of seeing me, hearing me, witnessing me, listening, like this eye contact, her enjoying my satisfaction, my aliveness, my energy, and wanting to be like in my close space. And so the same pattern, I kept attracting the same pattern with the men that meant more to me in all of my dating life. But when I met my husband and I found out about human design, I calculate all of this, it just got so obvious. And you can use human design in dating. Like, what is attractive to me? What do I embody? What do I need? Am I a projector? Is it supportive if I go online and picture myself in a certain way that people can respond and invite me to share my gifts, share my insights, share my opinion, and be invited for my essence? Am I a generator, a manifesting generator? Do I like to respond? Maybe it's a dating app. That's perfect. Do I like to respond in the moment when I go out to the club and meet people? Do I feel most attractive to people who are this alive, this magnetic and charismatic people who are just going all in on their work, on their project, on what they're doing? Or am I more into like a manifestor, someone who is more distant, more cold, who knows what he wants, who goes all in and does his thing, who is independent? Do I find these attributes attractive? And I think there's so much to play with. For reflectors, I didn't get the chance to talk with many reflectors yet about their dating process, but I'm going to have a reflector on my podcast, but in German. So I can ask her about how dating was for her. But this has given me so much insight in regards to my patterns in dating, in being in relationship, but also understanding like the patterns of my family, calculating their charts, being more sensitive to what they bring to the table, because it's not personal. It's just what they bring to the table, their unique expression, and seeing again the triggers as like beautiful masters on my path that teach me even more and more. And so for a woman or for a man to understand themselves more deeply, I think is such a beautiful, beautiful quality. And that's why I love to do human design readings, to really empower the one sitting on the other side, that these are the features that are in your DNA, in your blueprint, but you are not that. You're so much more than that. And I want to get to know you. Who are you now? And what do you need to feel like this, if you do want to feel like this? And how can we move in this process of achieving all of that, what you desire, and being bold in your expression, allowing yourself to share your creative endeavors, to share your voice, to be more bold or to be more quiet because you've never allowed yourself to be more quiet before, whatever it is. It's just another permission slip, another experiment that you can try and see these certain patterns and how they apply to your own life. And that's really, really fun.
Beautifully said. Thank you. So I'm curious, in your relationship with your husband, what changes in relationship when one partner begins to truly embody their feminine truth and erotic presence through your own lived experience? I'm curious, like what's
Yeah.
emerged?
So I would say I was always sexually very open. So from the beginning, it was never hard to talk about very intimate topics. I was never ashamed of my body, even though I had some insecurities. It was always so easy to talk openly with my husband about anything and everything. And of course, that deepened with time. But I would say it started really with the photo shoots, and then it got deeper and deeper and deeper. And he was always the one like supporting me in this erotic expression, being even more turned on, seeing me being turned on. So it was this reciprocity, this well of just getting more and more and more the more we experimented with it all. And I feel like we talked about certain fantasies, like having a threesome, and we even went on a dating platform, and we even had a date with a girl, and that was just all very exciting, even though it never got to the part where it actually got serious. It takes so much to find like the perfect match, and it was never about, oh, let's have threesome because it's fun. No, we want to experience a certain type of feeling, like this certain thing. And if that isn't part of the conversation, then we don't want it at all, because it has to add something to our relationship. It's not that something is missing or there's a lack of something, and that's why we desire to have this experience. It's the other way around. We want this experience to expand as a couple, to learn something more, to have something new and arousing, to even contemplate about. Because even the talks about, ooh, how would this be? What would you need in that moment? What is okay? What isn't okay? And having all these open conversations just gave both of us the stability of, we know what we want each other, and that's all we ever need, because we are so into each other, like all the time, that it's more about curating these unique experiences in your long partnership, in your marriage, to really have like an evening where it's only about pleasure. And I do these guided sensual meditations. I do them all with my husband first, because I want to have these experiences with him and for him. I want him to surrender, to have the opportunity to give up control and be the one to receive. And I want that as well. And if we want that, we have to provide that. And we have to be the role model and go forth with what we want to experience in partnership, but also in life. And I feel like when we become more ourselves, and when we step into this full embodiment, no matter if it's him or if it's me, we're always the ones clapping for each other. We're always our biggest cheerleaders. And no matter where it takes us, it can't rip us apart. And if people are provoked by my online expression or the way I portray myself, if that's just all they see, like my physical avatar, my human shell, like this vessel, that's not me. It's nice to have. It's beautiful. I'm very thankful for it, but it's just my body. That's not my soul. That's not my essence. And I'm going to lose this body and live on, because energy doesn't die. And so I see this body as this beautiful vehicle, as this mechanism, as this avatar that carries me through life, that lets me have these beautiful experiences. And I'm so grateful that I feel so beautiful in my skin, and I feel so confident, and I'm so blessed with my looks. And I am confident in saying that there's nothing wrong with it. And I wish that for every woman, for every man, to find something beautiful within them, because you're all beautiful. You all have something. And there is someone out there that loves just exactly that. And you shouldn't settle for less. And that's what we do in our partnership. And that's why it's alive, that it's why it's authentic, that it's why it's unconditional. And that's why it works. Yeah.
I am almost speechless every time. Oh my gosh. You're just such a beautiful transmission to listen and receive. Thank you.
You bring good things out of me.
Oh, thank
That's
you.
also a thing in human design. Like,
Yeah.
how can another pull out this information and keep the energy flowing? Because when we come together, it's like another dynamic, and we have to get used to this, and it's not easy. Yeah, but it's fun. It was a beautiful conversation.
Yeah. So coming to close, with some final words, if you could speak directly to the woman that may be listening, the woman that may feel lost from herself right now, what would you want her to know?
Hmm. I would say to her what I would have said to myself back then, is that you are not alone. You're not alone in this path. There is always someone you can reach out to and talk openly about your things. And there is help. There is someone who understands you. And the people who don't understand you, maybe they're not your people. Maybe not for that moment, maybe not ever. But you know in your heart what is right for yourself. And you can find certain tools that help you be even more connected to your body, to your sensuality, to your feminine power, to your expression, to open your voice and speak up for yourself. It's like a continual training that you can get better at, and it's nothing anyone has been born with. So you can learn all these tools and you can become the version, this goddess version of yourself that lies inside and is waiting for you to unleash her. She's so ready. And you just have to make this decision, maybe make a vow to yourself, make a ritual with yourself, and decide that you want to change something and then go for it. You can do it. I learned myself almost anything I know. So I learned myself anything, everything. I didn't have a lot of teachers. I went out and got the information myself. And I went through the resources. I did all the stuff and it actually worked. And I got farther on my path. And even finding out this information is going to make you a greater, better human because you're dedicated, you're devoted to yourself and your path. And that is worth something. That takes so much courage, and you can be so, so grateful to yourself for starting.
Thank you. Thank you. So, lastly, Shakti, where can we find more of your work for someone that is listening and wants to connect with you or get one of these meditations? Where can we find your work? And I will absolutely also place any of the links below in the description.
Okay, so my full Instagram handle is shakti.noir. So I'm mostly online, in the online space on Instagram. You can find me there. You can write me a message. You can follow and support my content for me to reach even more people out there, more women, to touch their hearts and their pussy, to liberate their sensuality. And I'm currently in reworking my website phase. So reach out through a message, write me an email, and I have the course Domina available on my link tree that Senna is going to share. And also I'm doing human design readings. So if you desire to understand yourself more deeply, to get to the root of your potential and also face some of your blocks and shadows, I'm all here for that. And I love to not only do human design readings, but also have like transformational hypnosis sessions, and we can do them individually. We can do them together. I will have a website in the upcoming 2 months where you can find more in detail everything about that. And until then, yeah, just write me a message and I'm so happy to forward you anything that you desire.
Well, thank you, Shakti, for this beautiful transmission, for your essence, your offerings, and being on the Divinely Sovereign podcast.
Thank you. I also have a podcast. It's so new, I forgot to mention it. And Senna is going to be a guest soon. So my podcast is called Devotion. It's only on Spotify and also on my YouTube for anyone who doesn't want to pay for Spotify, which I understand. So go listen in. It's 2 episodes until now, and Senna is going to be on soon, where we deepen the conversation of today and move into some other juicy topics. I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me. It was a beautiful conversation. I just felt really connected with you and hope it lands in the hearts of all women who need to hear this.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.